everyone, it's Allie and welcome to my channel. So today I am super excited to share with you all of the nonfiction books that I plan to read during this year. And I very much hope that my nonfiction reads are not limited to everything that I'll be showing you today, but in general I have a goal of reading at least one nonfiction book a month during the year of 2023. I don't know why, but I just have a really hard time making myself read any nonfiction book, but every time I read one, I think, I need to read more. I found that the nonfiction books that I really enjoy reading the most are about people or events or history. I definitely am very interested in history in general, and I love learning about people of the past. And so I made this goal for myself of reading minimum one nonfiction book every month, and I went on Book Outlet and I was super thrilled to find that there are actually so many different memoirs and autobiographies and biographies. So if you are looking for any books in that category, just nonfiction books in general, I would highly recommend checking out Book Outlet. All the books on there are new. They might just have like a mark on the pages or something like that, which to me personally is no big deal at all. And so I was able to get all 13 of these books on Book Outlet for I think around 60 bucks. So really great deal. And the majority of these are hardback as well. But all right, let's go ahead and get right into it. Basically what I did was I went on Book Outlet, I went into their memoir, autobiography, biography section, and I sorted it from most popular to least popular. And I just kind of went through and starred all the ones that I was interested in, and then I did end up picking up 13. But there are so many on there that I was interested in and I didn't get yet. So I'm definitely gonna go back to that site in the future to get some more. But all right, first up we have Elizabeth and Margaret, The Intimate World of the Windsor Sisters by Andrew Morton. And he also wrote Diana, Her True Story, which I was interested in as well. I might have even picked that up, I forget. But this is what the cover looks like. Really pretty, I think. And it's kind of funny that I did end up getting this because Prince Harry's book just came out, his book Spare. And I am kind of on the fence of if I want to read that or not. Let me know what you think of the whole royal family situation down below. I haven't followed it too closely, but I feel like I'm kind of siding with Prince William and Kate. I'm not really sure though. Definitely let me know if you think I'm totally wrong. But I'm super interested to read about Elizabeth and Margaret. I think we can all agree Queen Elizabeth was truly a very special woman, and I feel like her sister Margaret does kind of get pushed to the side a lot, which is funny because that is kind of what Prince Harry's book is about, I think. But the back says, they were the closest of sisters and the best of friends, but when Edward VIII decided to abdicate the throne, the dynamic between Elizabeth and Margaret dramatically altered. Elizabeth was forced to approach Margaret not as a sibling, but as a sovereign whenever Margaret struggled to find a place within the royal system, and its expectations sparked tension. And forevermore, Margaret would have to curtsy to her sister. So this book really just follows their relationship over the years. And this says that Andrew Morton, the author, is the king of royal tea, and he offers unique insight into these two drastically different sisters, one resigned to duty, the other in conflict with it, and the lasting impact they have had on the crown, the royal family in the 20th century. So I think this will just read like a very good novel. It will be juicy, I'm sure, lots of fun stories in here. And some memoirs, biographies, autobiographies can be really long, and this one's about 320 pages, so I feel like it's a really good length. I might start out with this one, I'm not sure. And this was actually just written last year in 2021. Up next we have Harriet Tubman, The Road to Freedom. I almost had a heart attack, I thought I wasn't recording. The back says that Harriet Tubman is revealed for the first time as a singular and complex character, a woman who defied simple categorization. So of course Harriet Tubman is known as the woman who led, they call her the conductor of the Underground Railroad, which I know about just, you know, through history classes and things like that, but I would like to learn more about it and learn more about Harriet Tubman as a woman. So I'm very interested in reading this one. This should be interesting. I have a couple in here that are more about like movies and TV shows, and I could not pick this up when I saw it on Book Outlet. So this is called As You Wish: Inconceivable Tales from the Making of the Princess Bride. I am a huge fan of this movie, and I think it's just going to be so interesting to hear some of these behind the scenes stories. And this one is not too long at all. It's about 237 pages. And it looks like there's a lot of input from other characters like Robin Wright and William Goldman in here. So this is going to be so fun to read. Maybe I'll read this one first. I don't know. I want to read them all. And this is one that I remember when it came out and I almost picked it up at Barnes & Noble, but I am glad I just waited because I got this for like $4, I think. So really, really good deal there. Next, we've got The Book of Hope from Jane Goodall and Douglas Abrams with Gail Hudson. So a lot of different people contributing to this one. And I know she has written a few different books, and this one is a survival guide for trying times. So I wonder if she did make this post-COVID. Yes, so this just came out in 2021. So guessing her most recent book. So that's pretty cool. I'm definitely assuming that she will talk about her own life a lot during this, but I like that there is kind of a little bit of self-help element to it. And funny story, I actually did get to hear Jane Goodall speak. I went to a pretty small college, so we were not able to ever really afford having big speakers like her come through, but the University of Pittsburgh actually had her, and I heard that she was like at least $20,000 to have her come. So my psychology club, we took a trip to Pitt to hear her speak, and she spoke barefoot. I was like, that's super iconic. It was packed. There were so many people there, and she was supposed to do a book signing at the end, and she was like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. So I don't know. I didn't get the best impression from her in that way. Like, she is an older woman, but they also did pay a lot for her to come speak and sign books and everything. But I just thought that that was really quite a move, quite a power move to give her whole talk barefoot. And it was super interesting, of course, to hear her experience with the monkeys. So hoping to have a lot of monkey stories in here, maybe some pictures. Yes, does look like there are some pictures. So I'll let you guys know about this one. I will be doing a month recap of what I read at the end of every month or beginning of the next one, I guess. So that way I will not miss reviewing anything. Okay, yeah, so I did pick up the other one by Andrew Morton. This is Diana, Her True Story in Her Own Words, and this is the 25th anniversary edition, featuring exclusive new material. This one was originally written in 1992. So let me know if you did read this one. This was actually when I was born in 1992, so that's kind of cool. It sounds like the biographer, Andrew Morton, who wrote this, he and the princess had secret tapes and she was pretty vulnerable. And this one's pretty thick, so I guess she had a lot to say. I'm very interested to read it. When I saw this, I absolutely knew I had to get it. This is The Happiest Man on Earth, and I just love the idea of this story, that he was able to make it through such a horrendous experience and still have a positive attitude. And this reminds me, without ever having read a word of it, so maybe it won't turn out that way, but this reminds me of Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, which is one of my favorite books of all time. And if I could recommend any book to anybody, I would recommend that one, because it is all about how powerful the mind is. And of course, someone with a background in psychology and counseling, I very much agree with that statement. But Viktor Frankl talks in that book about how in some ways he didn't really have a horrible time in the concentration camps. Of course it was horrible, but because he would mentally decide every day how he was gonna feel, and he would choose joy and happiness and peace, that was what he primarily felt. So I think that this will just be a wonderful lesson, a good reminder that we can only control what we can control. And I mean, just look at that man. He is so cute. And this was just written in 2021 as well. So I didn't even realize how recent a lot of these books are, but that is the great thing about Book Outlet. They get all of kind of like the overflow bestsellers at Target and Costco and places like that. So a lot of times you can find really new books on there. Okay, so anybody who knows me knows I am pumped to read this honkin' boy. So this is Storyteller, the authorized biography of Roald Dahl. This is by Donald Sturrock. Roald Dahl is absolutely my favorite author of all time, and I think he was such an incredible man. So that's why, although I have read a few other books about his life, I've never read one this thick, so I'm super excited to just read more about him as a person, because he did live quite a big life. He didn't just write in his home and that was his main thing. He did all kinds of different jobs, and he lived throughout interesting points in history as well. So I'm just excited to read about him, but also about the time that he lived in. This is definitely the thickest book of them all, but I will probably read through it really, really quickly. This one is about 568 pages. This is another one that I remember when this came out and I almost got it, but I'm glad I did hold off. This is Vanderbilt, The Rise and Fall of an American Dynasty by Anderson Cooper and Catherine Howe. So the Vanderbilt family is a very iconic family in American history. They're a very, very wealthy family, and I know about them a little bit through the Biltmore Estate, which is my absolute favorite place in the United States. It is amazing if you love people, learning about people, and old houses. Oh my gosh, this is the most epic home you will ever see. It's ginormous, the biggest home in America. It is in Asheville, North Carolina, and I would highly, highly, highly recommend putting that on your bucket list if you've never been, because it is just quite an experience. But yes, the Vanderbilt family built that home, and that's why I was really excited to get this book when it first came out, and then I think I just kind of forgot about it. And Anderson Cooper is a descendant of the Vanderbilts, and I think this actually is kind of him learning more about his own family, because I think his mom didn't really tell him that much about them, if I remember correctly. So I think it'll be kind of part major history about the family, which will be fascinating, but then it will also tie in Anderson Cooper's own experience being a descendant of this very iconic family. Here we have Homework, a memoir of my Hollywood years by Julie Andrews, and I'm actually really excited to read this one because I do really like Julie Andrews. I was a huge fan of her movies when I was younger, still am. I think she's just a beautiful person, such an iconic part of Hollywood history, but I'm especially excited to read this because unlike maybe other people that write memoirs, Julie Andrews is actually an excellent author. She's written a lot of children's books, like picture books, but she also wrote, I think, maybe 3 or 4 different middle grade stories, and those are some of my favorite books from my childhood. So if you're looking for a good middle grade book just for yourself to read or for your kids, I would check out Julie Andrews' stories. She wrote one called The Last of the Really Great Wang-Doodles, which I absolutely loved, and another one that I really enjoyed from her when I was younger was Mandy. So not only is she an amazing singer, actress, she also can write. So I'm expecting this to be written pretty well. And I know that she has written several different memoirs, but I'm excited for this one since it is focusing on the Hollywood years, just hearing what the behind the scenes was like when she was kind of in her heyday with acting. So this is one I feel like I'm gonna read this really, really quickly as well. Cannot wait. This one should be super interesting. This is The Churchill Sisters, The Extraordinary Lives of Winston and Clementine's Daughters. So, don't know anything about his children or really his family at all. Just know a little bit about Winston Churchill, again, just like from history class and things like that. I never really learned too much about him as an individual person, but I'm sure this will provide a lot of insight into family life. And kind of like the Queen and Margaret book, I feel like it will have that really interesting sister dynamic, which can be so loving but also be very competitive. So we'll see how this goes. I'll just read a quick snippet of the inside cover. So this says, bright, attractive, and well-connected in any other family the Churchill girls, Diana, Sarah, Marigold, and Mary, would have shown. But they are not in another family. They were Churchills, and neither they nor anyone else could ever forget it. From their father, the greatest Englishman, to their brother, Golden Boy Randolph, to their eccentric and exciting cousins, the Mitford sisters, they were surrounded by a clan of larger-than-life characters which often saw them overlooked. While Marigold died too young to achieve her potential, the other daughters lived lives full of passion, drama, and tragedy. They described Diana as intense and diffident, Sarah glamorous and stubborn, and Mary dependable yet determined, each so different, but each imbued with a sense of responsibility toward one another and their country. So looking forward to this. I'm glad that I'm excited about all these. I know I keep saying,
can't wait to read this one.
But that's why I got them, I guess. But truly, if none of these really sound interesting to you, there were so many other options on Book Outlet. Here's another one that's kind of the same vibe as the last one. This is The Lives of the $1 Million Babies, Heiresses. And this one is by Laura Thompson, and she wrote about the lives of the Mitford sisters, which we just learned were the cousins of the Churchill sisters. So this should be interesting because I think it's going to be talking a lot about how maybe everyone thinks that your life is so good when you're an heiress and you get to live in amazing homes and wear beautiful dresses and all of that, but all of the problems that kind of come with it. So this should be fascinating. I'm not really sure who this will follow. So it looks like it'll follow several different people, of course, including Mary Davies, who inherited London's most valuable real estate and was bartered from the age of 12. Consuelo Vanderbilt, going back to the Vanderbilt family, who was forced into a loveless marriage. Barbara Hutton, who was the Woolworth heiress, who married 7 times and died almost penniless. And Patty Hearst, who was heiress to a newspaper fortune, but was arrested for terrorism. And then there are other stories about other people in here. So I don't know really anything about any of the people I just mentioned, so excited to learn more. All right, just a few left. This one I'm committed to getting through, but it might be the hardest for me to read. This is Bing Crosby, Swinging on a Star, The War Years, 1940 to 1946, and this is by Gary Giddens. So this one is a thick boy. It's pretty long, almost as long as the Roald Dahl book. It's about 600 pages, and yeah, I am interested in reading about Bing Crosby. He was, of course, an iconic singer, but I'm not sure if he was in the military or if he was someone that just went overseas to sing for the military. But it's pretty crazy that this only covers 6 years and it's 600 pages. So hopefully it will be written well. Some of these books can be a little dry sometimes, the ones about the war I find. But I do really like Bing Crosby as a singer and an actor. White Christmas is one of my favorite Christmas movies. He's the star of that one. So I'll probably just need to get some energy to read it, but I'm sure it'll be very good. Okay, the last one that I have here to show you, I was surprised was on Book Outlet, but like I said, they have a lot of very new books on there, lots of bestsellers. So this is The Office BFFs by Jenna Fischer and Angela Kinsey. And I mean, if you know, you know. I am definitely a huge Office girly. I absolutely love the show, seen it a few times. But I have kind of followed Jenna Fischer and Angela Kinsey on social media off and on over the years, and it is really nice to see how well they get along and actually how well just the whole cast in general gets along. Of course, some are closer than others. And I think Angela actually lives right next door or like right by the guy who played Creed, and they just like spend a lot of time together. So love that. Of course, you love when people that you like watching get along on a show get along very well in real life, and in their case get along much better in real life. But when I got this book, I was surprised like how wide and thick it is, and you can see that there's a lot of pictures in here. There's writings from Jenna and Angela, of course, so you're hearing things from their different perspective, but the pages are like super glossy, very, very nice. So I feel like this really would be a good one to gift to someone if you knew that they were a big lover of The Office, because even though I will read it pretty much straight through, this would be a great one to just kind of have and flip to random sections and read. And then another nonfiction book that is very much on my radar that I'm actually gonna get on Audible is Jeanette McCurdy's I'm Glad My Mom Died. And I'm sure you've heard of this one. This was huge on Book Talk last year and just big in general. I saw Jeanette McCurdy on a lot of talk shows, a lot of morning shows, things like that, because of course that title, I'm Glad My Mom Died, is very striking. And I know Jeanette talks a lot in this book about how her mother really abused her by kind of forcing her to be a child actor. And I'm not sure if it was a situation where her mom was kind of stealing her money and things. I really don't know too much about it. I wanted to wait and listen to it myself, but I'm actually going to be doing a month of reading Book Talk books in March, so I definitely will listen to that one then. So those are the 14 main nonfiction books that I am going to be reading this year. I'm sure I will be reading other ones as well, and of course a couple months I'll have to double up, but I think just having that goal of reading one a month will be a really good way for me to get into nonfiction, and then hopefully I'll read a lot more next year, because I love fiction, but you can learn so much about people and history and life from reading nonfiction, so I think it is something that we should all aim to do at least a little bit. But let me know, what are your favorite nonfiction books down below? As I said, I do love learning about people and history, so if you have any good book recommendations in that area, or just ones you think I'd like based off of the ones that I picked for myself to read, do let me know down below. And if you like this video, please make sure to give me a big thumbs up and subscribe. It really does help my channel out a lot. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.